Yeah, I think why you get up, brothers?
Hey, you want to trade? You want to trade spots with me so I can get closer to them, or you want to sit over there? I got y'all. I got you. I'm recording it.
Every time we talk about y'all, we talk about y'all outfit. Every time. Those outfits were bad.
Military strikes out and occupied force.
Oh, really?
Genocided you for hundreds of years. You got the right to do with them what you made. That can never be called servitude or slavery.
When you say genociding us for 100 years, we the most advanced civilization in the world. How can some barbarians genocide us? Yeah, we weren't. But we were smart enough to know that we were let the barbarians come to
the
that.
The reason we sitting in here right now because we wasn't smart enough to know.
We were, but
we are
small. I
sitting here in
disagree
this
with you.
barber shop in, Florida. We wasn't smart enough to know.
I think smart enough
So everybody, I want to.
We
were smart enough to know.
Sorry, if I can interject for a moment. I want to introduce one of the other presenters for tomorrow. This is Sister Nkoya Ojubo.
No, you got to stop right there at the beginning and work it around. That's how it works.
Please, brother, I'm Nkoya.
This is Brother
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Right.
Tony.
So y'all be looking at you and saying, "Who's this?"
This is Brother Amin. This is Holloway. This is Brother Tony.
Hey, how you doing, bro? All right.
Have you met Mr.
Yes, sir. Honor to see you. Saw you in Dallas.
A friend of mine, Ikembe.
Yes.
I mean, okay,
Yes.
all right, nice to meet you, brothers.
Peace, brother.
This is right here in the back.
And elementary genocide. Yes, sir. Great work. I'm doing great, brother. What are you going to be doing?
What?
This is Baba Amin.
What am I going to be doing? Speaking?
What I'm saying, so this the word itself, not the word.
Look, brother Small, I want to continue the discussion. I know to me it's a real pressing discussion that needs to be opened up in our community.
It's a serious discussion. If I invade your community, because Africa would not have a war culture, and in the initial invasion, Plymouth don't have a significant army. Where you are. Everything comes into being out of necessity. If you're not at a war, if you're not invading other people's land for conquest, then you have no anything. You need a defense force. But the Europeans come out of a war culture. Not just a society that's built as military. It's a culture that is predatory. We didn't have
So we were a non-violent people.
No, I didn't say that because that's a crazy trick word. White people.
I know it's the silliest word I've ever heard. I would never accept it.
We didn't have a predatory culture. We defended ourselves and people went out and cleansed and sanitized an area if somebody had come into that space.
Yeah.
But that's the thing.
Security.
But we didn't have a predatory culture that went in other people's land and steal them and brought them and enslaved them and stole their raw materials because we didn't have to do it. We had all these things. So we had a culture that was based on. That's how we were able to produce the Ma'atmi concept. Our culture was based on harmonization with nature. Europe culture is based on being at war with nature. So you've got a culture based at being at war with nature, and you got a culture based on being in harmony with nature. The one who's at war with nature is going to kick the other ones behind. We would later regroup, and we would go after them, and we would defeat them. But then more of them will come later, and they will kick our butts. And it will take over almost all of Africa. And eventually, by the period we call colonialism, they will take all of Africa.
But the problem I have with a lot of African historians is we glamorize ancient Africa too much, and we don't talk about the because I think that there was what they call a dark or negative side to it as well. Like for instance, us enslaving them. I believe we did. Well, I mean, even with Diop gave footnotes and everything.
I don't care what he gave. If you have to take a prisoner of war, Diop come out of a white Islamic Marxist culture. I give him credit for what he did. But I'm not going to negate the Marxist formulation of his mind what is Arab Islamic formulation of his mind. Thank God that the African formulation has such doubts. But I got to be honest and read. He was an extraordinary scholar, and he had the wherewithal to do that. But he's also coming from a perspective of Marxism. He's coming from a perspective of Islamism, and then he's coming from. Diop don't do a whole lot philosophically in terms of the African piece. Okay?
You said he doesn't.
He doesn't. Until he gets no, he gets him, but he talks about the cultural unity of Africa. And when he tries to describe the two different civilizations, trying to describe what white people were and what we were, the dual cradle concept. And what he's trying to say is that you deal with somebody who comes out of war culture, and they're coming upon people who's fundamentally of an agrarian culture. Yes, you will have forces to defend yourself, but it isn't even in your psyche to go kill this man because you just want his shirt. But that man may have it, I'm going to kill you because I want the wife. He ain't going to come and say, my brother, could you sit down and negotiate for the wife? That is not the culture of Africa. That is the culture of Africa. The culture of Africa, I got some gold. Can I have the wife? Let's do some negotiating. You don't get a Ma'at concept unless you have a Ma'at experience that derives you there. There's no such thing in Europe. In Europe, thing is Bauhaus. You go to heaven for how many people you kill. Even the very word G-O-D means not omnipotent. So these are cultures that clash. What are we doing? We need to it's going to take us to learn from them. When we do, we kick them out of our land. But they ain't going nowhere, so what do you do with them?
It's slavery.
That's not slavery. That's the prisoner.
I ain't got a problem with the word slavery. I ain't got a problem.
But you gotta have a problem with it because the concepts represent something different.
Yes, because Shaka says prisoner of war.
Yeah. And Shaka, for instance, never fought anybody.
I love what he said about the whole slavery. I think we need to take a more aggressive stance and stop being so passive.
No, you can't do that. You have to take. No, you have to take. I carry a bunch of guns.
I'll blow over.
But you gotta
try to slave me. Go ahead.
What is African? And it can't be Europe and African too. Now, what is the African? That is a mindset. That is a worldview. That is how you see yourself in relationship to the rest of nature.
But Professor Small, let me ask you. All of Africa, you had your pockets of people that were much more opportunistic, that probably did participate in enslaving whites. You can't say that it's just all
that we enslave whites.
I don't think it's important, but I think that the reason why they can't. What we? That's cool. But listen, people in order for we implode from within first. Before anybody could penetrate us in Africa, we imploded from within, and we were self-destructive. I think we had to take some responsibility for our behavior.
What we got to do is make sure we get the history right.
Right.
If that's what the history says, then it doesn't say that.
But even
what does history say then?
I'm not saying that Diop said that. Diop said that Tutmos had that.
Diop is not the authority on the last word on any of this.
No, but I'm just saying I'm saying what I'm saying is this. I want to make sure I'm clear on what Diop said. Diop said that was on the walls that Tutmos the second and third put on the walls that we enslaved. He wasn't saying it. That was not his premonition to be saying that we were enslaved.
In his interpretation of what he saw on the same walls I saw, and I interpreted them differently.
So what's your interpretation?
Right?
No, people connect me with that spiritual shit, but I come out of
thank God you
I understand what spirit is about, but most people don't even know what they're saying when they say spirit. Lots of spirituality is your reality. But what I'm saying is that if someone invades your land, occupy your land, they're raping your women, they're robbing your coffers, they're burning your shit, and then they're setting up their minimized corrupt sense of how to run a society, you get strong enough, or some of your brothers come further enough up the south and haven't been contaminated with that, help you drive them out or conquer them. They're not going nowhere because they have nothing to go back to. That's why they invaded you in the first place. You are not going to leave them loose to run around your society anymore. And you either do what Dessalines did, kill all of them, That's what Wesley did.
I ain't got no
He
problem
killed
with that.
all of them. Or you do what Moses did. Put them to labor for the crime they had committed. And that's not slavery.
That's not slavery.
I don't care what you call it.
Okay, so I don't know. Maybe I'm having. I don't know. Maybe I.
Slavery, whatever you
You got it? No, you can't not define.
But they enslaved us, but we didn't enslave them.
Okay, but being enslaved is being forced against your will. You know.
No.
You
If you
lose
go,
your will when you commit a crime.
I was
against
just about to say that. If you do
If-
something to
when-
somebody,
If a man is over there minding his business and I take away his freedom to steal his labor and his knowledge, that's slavery. But if the same man was trying to rob me, had burned my house down, killed my wife, and I took his butt and made him work that off for the rest of his life, that is not slavery.
That's indebtedness.
Compensation for his crime.
So you're saying servitude, indentured
That's
servant.
not indentured servitude. That's compensation for his crime he committed against my humanity.
So we're just not gonna use that word slavery then. We just not gonna.
it's not slavery.
That is not slavery.
It's not slavery.
Slavery is just not somebody.
It's
labor.
unwarranted. Slavery is
What
unwarranted.
we do that
But you ain't
you know the slavery that we talk about. We didn't invade Europe. The only time we invaded Europe is when we were driving packers out of North Africa. When the Moors, who were not done, Moor ain't nothing but a word for black, so we ain't even get off in that shit. That's just a Roman word for black. Okay? When those blacks who had become Muslims, then everybody in North Africa did not become Muslim.
Right.
In fact, there was another segment of the Moorish population that fought against the segment that was Muslim. But when they came to power, the Romans occupied all of North Africa. And over in Morocco, Mauritania, the Visigoth Germans occupied. So that's who they defeated and drove out into Spain and chased down into Spain and took over that land. So
Enslaved
that's
whites?
they didn't enslave no whites.
The Moors didn't enslave whites.
No. Matter of fact, under the Moors should have made them prisoners. You have a very bad concept of slavery. It's something you want to feel that white folks have done wrong for some reason. If you killed all the white folks in the world, that would not be a crime. It would not be a crime because history said that in the last 2,000 years, they've committed crime beyond any compensation they could possibly do for the next 2,000 years. So if you eliminated all of them, that wouldn't be a crime. That would be a correction of nature.
Okay, that's what you're saying we should do now?
Yeah, we had the capability.
So what do you say the difference between what you just described versus continuing on the ones that when they went to Spain from what was it 711 to 1492, and they occupied that place with the so-called Jews. You know what I'm saying? So and they had white people. They occupied Spain with the so-called Jews.
There wasn't that many Jews. The biggest part of the Jews, let's look at history, the Jews that was in Spain was basically that from the tribe called the Kohanes, who was the remnants of the black ones who were left, but that was the priestcraft of the so-called Israel. Most of the people that was in Spain were the very people who were in Spain when they took over. Many of them converted to Islam. Many of them stayed Christians, and they even allowed them to have and build a Christian church. When you understand that history, you'll understand how they ended up getting. And most of the people that they didn't invade Spain, they drove an occupying force out of North Africa into Spain, and they stayed there. And most of those people were not blacks at all. We get carried away with this Moorish thing. Most of them were Arabs. They were Turks, they were Yemenis, and if you look at the migration that came with the Umayyad Empire, that starts to move, the Islamic move in North Africa, they were mostly from Yemen and from what is now Iraq. And that would be followed by the Turks and the Kurds. We like to call them Arabs because they sound good and shit, but that's not who they are. And those are the people that would make up that army, that much of which was led by the blacks of North Africa. But brothers will get into the Moorish thing. If we get into the Moorish thing, no disrespect to any Moors in the room, because the white man recognized that as being something significant. The only reason they even deal with Christianity, Judaism, and even Islam, if they had not won those wars, you wouldn't even heard about that shit. But they won the war, and they were controlling the world. We were in a defeated position. We had to identify with something. So you identify with what had victory. I did it too. But we have to study history and get a good sense of what the hell happened up here. for much as we can, because there wasn't a whole lot of written records. Ibn Khaldun, Ibn Battuta, who was writing about the North African piece, and a few other brothers tried to cover some of that. You know, and then they came later, and they were hearing it as all history. But when you study the records of the Umayyads, when Prophet Muhammad lived, it isn't an empire, and they're not called anything. After the death of Ali, then you get a takeover by the whites. They take over Islam. Ali was the Prophet's cousin and son-in-law. Okay. After these people who call themselves Sunnis today, these are the people who are murdering off the Prophet's family. All right? They got that shit all twisted. The brothers are following the Sunnis. And so the Shiites were the one who gave protection to the Prophet's family. If we want to deal with history, you know what I'm saying? But there was a coup d'etat in Islam by white folks, and they built something called the Umayyads. That's who invaded North Africa and led the invasion into Spain. Yes, they had black shepherds, but black didn't have an ideological philosophy that they were using to do that. They were driving the Romans and the Visigoths out of North Africa, and that's who retreated into Spain and France. That's who they were chasing militarily. That's how they did it. I mean, there's a lot more detail to it than that. But that's the general history we should know, because the backlash that comes from Europe is going to come primarily because of that experience, because that's what so when, by the 10th century, the Kurds and the Turks have taken over the entire Islamic system. It's called the approx. And they will hold the Islamic system until the First World War. So when I hear brothers talk about agreements America made, they didn't make any agreements with us. They made it with the Turks. Because the West called all Muslims Moors at that time. Nothing wrong with us understanding that we were a part of a great Islamic civilization, because indeed we were. And we made a great contribution to that great civilization. But let's not take the credit for the people who, because while this is going on, the white Muslims was declaring war on the black Muslims. And we never even discussed it. That's why we retreated into what is now Chad, Niger, Mali, and Senegal. The people who live there, they're the Moors that used to live in North Africa. They didn't get on a ship and come to America. That's a myth. Some of them were sold into slavery, but the majority of that population was driven out of North Africa by the little half-breeds we see up there now.
So you disagree with Shaka Amos. I agree with Shaka Amos. But here's my question. Yeah,
well,
I agree with
I
what
can't disagree with him because I don't know his whole statement.
Okay, no
I'd
statement.
like to see it and see what his rationale was.
Well, but here's the thing. Even if you go to Washington, I'm sure that you're still going to remain steadfast in your stance.
It depends if you give me some information.
Well, you have to go look at it for yourself and see.
I will.
But here's the thing.
What did Shaka say?
Shaka essentially said that we enslaved them first. That was the dialogue with Jabari. I forget the other brother name, the Jamaican brother. Jabari, Garfield, and Shaka almost had the debate on Sinetta show over last week or week before that. But nevertheless, I agree with Shaka. I still agree with Shaka almost in his stance, saying that let me finish.
To enslave them.
Let me finish. Because I want to. Even though he said it back then, I agree with from his perspective back then. But moving forward, what you're saying, because I don't believe in taking history in an abstract sense. Say, okay, we're going to talk about ancient Africa and can't apply it to current day situation. So you said earlier that you would agree with enslaving the whites right now.
No, not enslaving because whatever I do to white people could not possibly be called enslaving, because the crime they committed against my people have no justice for them. If they were all white from the face of the earth, that wouldn't be justice for the crime they committed.
That's what I'm getting at. I didn't want to say annihilation.
I like to put it straight up.
Okay, that's good. So annihilation is cool. I mean, I'm cool with that as well, with the annihilation factor. Current day, how we got there, I think we take different paths on how we got there.
But
I think that
don't call that slavery if it's not slavery. What would we need to to go get white people in enslavement for. We've got the wealthiest piece of real estate in the world. We've got the best agricultural piece of real estate in the world. No, I'm talking about the ancient Nile Valley civilization, right? We've got an overabundance of population. At that time, Nile Valley was overpopulated. We have the primary skilled population and skilled artisans in the world. What are we gonna go bring them to do?
Nothing. But the point is, here's my question then. If we are advanced based on what you just said. We are an advanced civilization compared to them. There's no way that they could come down and do what they did to us.
Yes, they did.
I don't believe it. We should have
we were not advanced, but we didn't. And that was the problem.
Stupid.
It was no, it's not stupid.
I think it was plain stupid. If you got all these resources, you got to defend them.
We misidentified just like we do today. We thought that was one of us with a genetic problem. At the end of the day, it is. But the genetic mutation is so drastic, it has become an enemy and a dangerous thing against the whole human race, even today. But we misrepresented, we misidentified what it was. We thought we could give it a certain amount of wisdom, a certain amount of information, and a certain amount of tools, and raise them up. I'm a Freemason. I know how Freemason got started. It didn't get started in it. That was us putting together a set of tools to raise the barbarians at our periphery to a level that they could function among human beings. They took that information and they fused us with it. There was a wall that stretched from the Black Sea to the Bering Strait. You don't build a wall unless there's something over there you scared of. Okay? The wall goes from you got the wall of Darius, it runs from the Black Sea to the Caucasus Mountains, and the Caucasus Mountain acts as a natural barrier. Then you got the wall of Darius that runs to another set of mountains, and then that runs into another set of walls, and then that runs into the wall of China. And the wall of China runs to the Bering Strait interfacing with the mountains. Somebody had understood that there was something very dangerous on the other side of that space. And so they spent centuries building this wall.
Let me also say this, right? When you talk about nature and the enemy, right, with white people, and you saying that we were so far advanced, there was no way that, they could have come and enslaved us, right? When you look
it is if we weren't militarily, but I believe we were military. We had a military. Go ahead.
No, it's just certain things like how he said there was no need for us to be military. You know what I mean? That's like me and you.
There was a need.
We realized that now.
Man, as brilliant as we were, we knew then too that
if we all of us in this room, we in business, we live amongst each other, we're not going to be walking around carrying guns.
Wrong, brother.
I'm saying not amongst ourselves.
Let me tell you how you look at this. The key to this. Kemet left some of the best historical records in the world. There is no historical record that shows Kemet was a military state before the first major invasion.
But small. Since you haven't looked at Shaka Moses' video, I'd rather that you look at his video first, and then we could have a discussion, because Shaka Amos is he's an intelligent brother. I mean, you know him better than I do. You know him personally.
Like my son.
Yeah. So he does his research. And I thought that was a brilliant presentation that he did.
I could show you how Jesus walked on the water and made that shit.
I don't give a damn about Jesus. I don't give a damn about Islam.
I could convince you that Jesus existed.
Okay, I'm not saying he didn't exist. I'm just saying he was a man like me. He's a man too.
I could convince you that he wasn't a man.
Okay, well, yeah, you had to convince me of that.
I can lay it out on power.
Listen to this though, right? When you look at,
because I'm a guy just like Jesus was a guy.
Well, what about the fact?
When you look at Rosewood, right, and certain communities that blacks had, right, where they was well more advanced than other communities, right? They didn't have no military. Yeah, they didn't have no military might. You know what I mean? They didn't think about that. And what happened? But white
if we understood historically, then we would have.
Yeah.
Let me back up on Tulsa. Because it's important. Because I go up to Tulsa every year. Tulsa had a military.
I thought they did too. I was going to say that, but go ahead.
Let me finish. Tulsa black military won the war. They defeated the white invaders. It wasn't until they dropped the bombs and then
that's what I think was a deciding factor.
The brothers who led the fight in Tulsa was formed in New York. Anybody know the name of those brothers? The African Blood Brotherhood. It was the African Blood Brotherhood that was the military army in Tulsa.
What, they went from New York to Tulsa when that was happening?
They were already there.
Oh,
But they started in New York as the Blood Brotherhood, the military army.
Okay.
And but Tulsa was our big thing, so many people moved out there and developed it there. They defeated the whites. That's a great start. That's why the cracker went in the air and started dropping gasoline bombs and burned the city. Once you created that firestorm, no matter what kind of weapons you got.
Smarter and learn from the lessons of the past. If we we got to learn to defend ourselves. I think that we look at it as a problem to defend yourself.
I got the right now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be basically no sleep on my pillow by my wife. 357
I would like to introduce some of our performers tomorrow.
85.
I'm going from,
Oh yeah, I
I'm going from 65 to 88.
Yeah, go ahead. Please, I can get the book for you right now.
No, I'm gonna read it. I did, but
Yeah,
listen,
but you're-
just because I read it, and you say what you said, don't make it actually fact.
No, I know. Listen, let me say that. I got over 6,000 books. I got over 6,000 books. I say 50% of it is lies anyway. But through my own intelligence, I'll be able to.
The have done a good job. Sometimes do it under the duress in which he's doing it.
But listen, I'm gonna make sure we clear the Professor Small.
Make sure the definitions of
Yeah. And Diop did not say it. Diop just said, here's what the interpretation say that wrong. That's what he said. The cut most the third, second, and
You
third.
got people who are bound. Their hands are tied. This is a sign of prisoners. We know that from the writing.
Okay, let's call it prisoner of war. Because that's what Shock almost said. Prisoner of war.
What I'm saying is that you can't equate capturing and invading and raping your mother and a killer of your brother with going to an independent position because you want to steal recognition. It takes so much. That's what I'm saying. Then we do it and we do it. But you can't call it slavery.
But
They were committing a crime and you came to clean up.
Right. And the chronological argument now, this person is different. And Shock almost thinks that we initiated.
I have to look at it.
Yeah, look at it
Then
and
I'm
see.
going to kick the lady nuts and
I'm but Professor Small. This is one of the dominant conversations of last month that not decided that been having on the show.
put my roof on my house.
Oh, you say, okay. So that's more important. You know, it's up more important.
Around the world, right?
But
Went out in March, and then I had to do. I know when I was with it's really not necessary. I was just busy trying to because I can't be coming out with you young since my wife is 65 years old. I'm like, I'm not giving you the word she
I'm getting, first of all, I'm getting up there with you now. I ain't no youngster. I ain't no young kid. I'm 57, so I'm okay. I'm catching up with you, brother.
I got children almost.
I almost told you to
My older daughter is 51.
It's your baby to me. I got.
Yeah, I'll take.
Room temperature? You want to hang? Maybe hang on to it. Make it room temperature.
Professor Small.
Hey,
Put all of them.
But see, I'm saying it's just perspective of even though whether we differ on how the chronological order. Here's the thing: we got to have sense of now to understand. And would you agree? We need to have someone to defend what we have. Yeah, and we need to be proactive though. Like, yeah.
We ever had an issue, or we use them on ourselves, we don't have a mind to tell us how to do.
now let me ask a question. Let me ask a question. Would you agree that, especially with okay, so would you agree that, especially with black folk, that we need to stop placing the blame on the white man and looking for reparations?
Did you say
stop placing the blame and start taking responsibility for ourselves.
Black people have been taking responsibility for themselves since we've been here. What we tend to do is take that 3% of the black population that's caught in crisis, primarily in the urban centers, and we take that 3% and define the whole black community in America. That's crazy. Most of the people I know been married, got jobs, go to college, and instead of their children. That's more, and I know plenty of people I grew up with. So we tend to define ourselves the way the enemy defines us. And if we do that, then we can come there. No, black people have always taken responsibility for themselves. Our problem in America doesn't have to do with taking responsibility for ourselves. Our problem in America has to do with finding what damage is done to our mind so we can reorganize how we take that.
Yeah, but even then, once somebody like a great historian like yourself comes out and says, well, this is what has happened to us, even then you'll have some black folk that says, see, them crackers, see, that's them crackers. Okay, so what I learned...
Black people should never stop saying. The Jews just celebrate on a whole week of Passover. They've been doing it for 4,000 years. Never stop. No, I ain't even talking about the Holocaust. I'm now talking about whether it's fake or not. I'm showing you the most successful group in the world. The one thing it don't stop doing is blaming the citizens. The most successful group in the world is a group of white folks that call themselves Jews, and their whole theology is based on what they've accepted as their history. So if you're going to use a model, your model won't work. The most successful group uses the opposite model, and it works. Black folks don't have a problem because they blame on white folks. If the white folks is to blame them. That don't exempt you from taking responsibility to try to defeat them. But if I pluck out your eyes and stump your picking ears and cut off your tongue, I can't come up and ask you why the hell you ain't talking and say you can't really speak. Okay? You gotta find a way to replace your tongue, replace your eyes, and replace your hearing. That's where we have a problem. Because we want to be black folks without being African folks in terms of the African spiritual deep understanding.
Well, that's my problem. It's like we want to place blame, and there's that old Christian saying, faithful. But hold on, hear me out. But hear me out though. What I'm saying is we want to place the blame, but we don't want to take responsibility at the same time. Well, that's only a small percentage of us. I'm talking about as a whole.
The majority of black people in America is doing very well. That's why we earned $1 trillion last year, the year before, and the year before to spend.
And then what did we do with it?
No. First, let's get that straight.
I agree with that.
Let's get that straight. For the last 4 years, we've earned more than $1 trillion. That means most black Americans are doing relatively well. Our mistake is to think the same thing coming back to you now and deal with them, is to treat the non-humans, I call some of this non-humans, like humans, and think that we can work in a marketplace. Why are we the only one in America that is required to do this, take the responsibility? See, the Chinese doing that in Chinatown, they're working with the white Americans, and the white Americans is working with them. I don't care what Trump has to say or the president of China say. China and America have been working together since the days of old people.
I agree.
They never stopped working together all through communism. The only group that America and the Asians are afraid of is the only group that could posit an ideology that would alter the advantages they've given to themselves, and that's us. But we don't know what that ideology is because there's been some brain damage, some mind damage, and some spiritual damage done to us. And you can't tell a man with no legs, why ain't you walking? Because he can't walk, because his legs gone. So what we've got to do is find out how we're going to come up with the few of us who can see the need for an artificial limb, how we're going to create some artificial limbs to get to those who ain't walking. And that's been the hard job. So we haven't been able to do that well.
So our ancestors have set us back with that mindset of not being able to defend ourselves like we should.
You just love that defense section.
I'm like taking responsibility. I like taking responsibility. Marine Corps.
That's why you're crazy.
No, I didn't. No, small. I was in the Hulu movement for 20 years. That's where I was really about. We were a revolutionary organization.
They're crazy town, too. I was in the Revolutionary Action Movement and the OAU and the Black Panther Party and SNCC. I understand all that.
Right. And so all I'm saying is this: I'm trying to get to a point. If we change, we gotta change.
Yeah, but you don't just change. If somebody rewire your mind, just because you tell them to change, it ain't gonna change. You gotta rewire their mind.
So if you say
let me finish. In order to rewire their mind, I'm gonna give you a chance, but first we gotta get to what the point has to be. Somebody has rewired your electrical circuitry in your mind.
Us.
Okay. Now you have to rewire those circuits. But you got to know how to rewire. And that's what history is about. That's what understanding culture is about. That's what understanding sacred science is about. Trying to figure out how we rewire before we go rewire. But if you don't accept the fact that you're rewired, you just think you have an option and you're just not taking it. Then you want to understand what's going on. Nobody wants to be safe. Nobody wants to go to prison. But something else is going on. And there's a good book out that will break it down to the common denominator. It's called The Island of Me. Anybody ever read it? The Island of Me? The Island of Me. Written by a black psychiatrist named Dr. Wade Noble.
Oh, I know Wade Noble.
Read that book, and this discussion will become moot.
I doubt it's something. I'm gonna read it though. I'm gonna get it.
Got 6,000 books.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it.
That's one of them you ain't got.
Yeah, but I watched Shaka Moses' presentation too. And I agree with it.
Shaka Moses ain't no
nice brother.
No, yeah,
he ain't no
and
Gil
very
Noble.
intelligent brother and does good research.
But listen, he ain't no Gil Noble. You know about Gil Noble?
Say more.
Gil Noble.
What was he?
He had books. Did Gil Noble have a TV show too?
Yeah, like it is.
Yeah, Tell It Like It Is.
Okay.
For years, back in the 80s, 90s.
But
And
some of what you say is true, but it has to be qualified. Because the white man didn't just put some shackles on you. He changed how your brain is rewired, how your brain is wired. He changed how your brain instructs the cells in your body. If you don't get that, you can do all you want. You never change yourself.
With that being said,
I gotta be to respond.
like, okay, so, but like, with that being said, what is your take on the so-called Jew? Because I think the
Stop calling them the so-called Jew. There was never in history anywhere where you saw any black people call themselves Jews. The Jews are the Jews. That's who they are. Now, we say so-called Jews. That's a rewiring process. Because there was never any black Jews. I don't care what Dr. Bannon says. And I love Dr. Bannon. They were black folks. Dr. Benyaki. My father, teacher, my uncle, and everything. I got his necklace on my neck right now. There was never a black who called themselves Jews. Okay? So those people who call themselves Jews are just crackers who call themselves Jews. What they have done is stolen an aspect of black historical legacy and own it. Put it in the right context, then you can deal with how to deal with that. They had nothing. They came into the land without a coherent culture, saw our culture and adopted aspects of it, and they called it Judaism. But even the little bit they got, the shit works. They run the music industry, they run the movie industry, they run the TV industry, they run much of commercial banking in the world, they control much of the mineral wealth in Africa. That shit works.
They control the monetary system.
Right. So we know that in their viciousness, they've put together a methodology. And what is the methodology? That's what we need to break down. Forget what they call it. That methodology is to make history your theology. That's what they did. So when they celebrate their theology, they celebrate their history. You know? No, their history is your theology. I'm talking about
Well, they got more discussion. I want to get everybody, Tony.
Listen, the sister coming in with some pizza.
Oh, yeah, that's different.
It's like, you know, you shouldn't be doing that.
Before my son called it.
Huh?
Before my son called in, you didn't
He went off into the.
Oh, I threw him off, but
No, you didn't throw it off. That's an interesting question because they were playing a role even back then, the same population under a different name. And remember, a population represents a cultural point of view. They're not just physically people, they're culturally people. They have a value system, they have a belief system. And so when you're going up against the people, you're going up against that value and that belief. So the people who we're calling Jews today, they were the same people we were calling Assyrians, Hittites, Hyksos. They're the same people, but they're changing their name through history. I did a piece of this years ago about the same people through history. They're changing their name, but their interest is still fundamentally the same. Their values are still fundamentally the same. And so even today, those people carry the same values, same interests, but they take on new identities and stuff. Coming back to us, the only thing I was swinging my fist at you about, there is no history that black people don't take responsibility. That's the thing I wanted to be made clear. Yeah, is there a history that some black people don't take responsibility? Of course there is. There's no perfect group. And especially the damaged ones, the ones who are injured, psychologically injured, in drugs, alcohol, in chronic unemployment, you're going to get a different behavior and response. That's not true for most black people, and it ain't never been true for most black people. But we are not fighting aggressively to oppress nobody. Somebody's aggressively fighting to, I may agree with you on that, but somebody's aggressively fighting to deny us rights, opportunities, and possibilities for no reason other than greed or just plain out hate for this shit. And we didn't even do nothing to the mother. But like if we did something, I can understand why the fool want to lynch me. I'm a nice bomb over here down the road trying to do my thing, feed my family. Out of his envy, his jealousy, his inferiority, he's going to take my life. We've got to understand white motivation. White people aren't motivated because they're mighty. White people are motivated because they're inferior. You know, you're dealing with an inferior creature. Otherwise, why would he worry about you?
We got to stop letting these inferior creatures dominate us.
Right, but you can't do that unless you stop dominating yourself with their mind.
I agree.
I agree with that one.
So that's exactly what we need to do. So if we would just be proactive. Now, what you just said, you said annihilation, you said enslavement, obliteration, whatever you want to call it.
Prisoners of war.
Take that proactive stance.
But first you got to reconstitute this we. The we is wired why.
But Professor Small, eternally trying to rewire ourselves.
No,
we
we
just take a
won't.
proactive stance.
If we stop saying that, we'll get rewired.
Okay, so up to now.
I'll tell you how to get rewired.
Oh. All right, go ahead, man. Look at the holy one. Man,
you got to give yourself up to Jesus Christ.
You said the wrong damn word to me. I ain't playing that shit. I'm telling you right now.
Oh man, that was a good one.
Stupidest shit I ever heard. Stupid shit. Nigga coming.
Why is it stupid, Will?
It's plain stupid.
Why is it stupid though?
It's abstract in a way, and we were given. Oh no, I'm sorry. No, I'm not gonna say we were given. We accepted the Bible when we were enslaved, and we accepted those passages that kept us loving our slave masters to the rising up like Denmark Vesey, Gabriel Prosser, Nat Turner, David Walker, rising up. Well, okay.
Most black people that know nothing but the Bible.
Oh no, we accept.
Let me finish this. Most black people knew nothing about the Bible during slavery. Most of us got into it after slavery. No. There were more rebellions in the country, in the United States of America, than all of the Caribbean and Central South America combined. A lot of it is documented, but we got to do the research to bring out the documentation. White man documents everything.
I agree. We do need to document, yeah.
There is a couple of books written on black rebellions, and there's hundreds of them. So, but you have to understand, there wasn't a plantation. Most plantations didn't have 1,000 black people. Most plantations had 5 people, 20 people, 30 people. And most of these people have been so brutalized in the year to the time, from the time they were captured at home, brought in Mexico for those months, put through that process, split up from your tribal people, your language people, your family people. By the time you got into that process, you were very managed. But even within that process, we maintained our African integrity. Because what are you going to do? We killed plenty of white people, but he ain't going to make no movie about how we poisoned them or we killed them. But you will find in his written note, see, one thing about the cracker, he accounts for every penny he makes. And he tells the story of everything that went along with making that penny. When I first came back to New York in 1966, I started working at the public library on 42nd Street. And there was only 3 other blacks working at the library. And so one brother was named Brother Arthur, and he was the only. And so I told him I heard Malcolm X would come there, and I wanted to know what part of the history department that Malcolm would go to do research. He said Malcolm hardly ever went to the history department. I said, well, where did he go? He said he went to the economics department. And I go, why is that? He said, because Malcolm told him the best kept historical records in the world is the finance records.
I can get you that on that.
That makes sense.
The financial records.
The financial records. Because the financial records, you got to account for every penny, so you got to account for the situation that produced the penny or caused the loss of the penny. And so I began to do my research from that perspective. And it makes sense because we're dealing with somebody that accounts for what his capital gain or loss is on a daily basis.
So where would you find that information at?
Any library. But, you know, they didn't put the stuff together to fit our research. So you got to dig in a bunch of different places and then pull it together, kind of like my brother here is doing a bill in a library. I always tell everybody in Dr. Jeffrey's talk, every household should have a library, and the library should be delivered to you. So as you do your research, you build a library. Because libraries is what was in ancient Kemet called universities. Okay? Libraries were the ancient universities. That's why any good university today got an extraordinary library. And that's what makes the university. But back to Utmost, I got to steal stuff from him. Because he's my younger brother, I don't want to be down on him. I haven't really watched
And do a response to our side so we can be able to see.
No, I'm going to tell you, we're going to get you we're going to get you on Skype. And then me and you going to deal with it. What's happening, sir? All right,
to do this. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, sir.
How you doing, brother?
But no, all of these questions, including the question you raised, which is an important question, taking responsibility, but take off of that piece, stop blaming the white man. Always blame that son of a bitch because he's deserving of the blame, but still take responsibility.
Now, let me ask you,
that's the key.
Do you agree what he said?
No, I'm riding the fence on that.
Pain in his face.
I'm riding the fence on that, man.
Well,
if somebody robbed you and take everything out of your house, you tell me with all your guns and shit, you're going to say, well, I'm going to take responsibility because I didn't lock the door properly. Yeah, right.
Oh, no. Whoa, let me.
I mean, when it's all said and done, that's where it comes back to.
If my door is locked or unlocked, they invaded my personal property, my privacy. I'm going to kill them. I'm going to enslave them. I'm going to annihilate them.
You're going to purge them.
But in order for you to do that, you got to blame them.
Okay, well...
No.
So this is where that book, this is where that psychology book comes in.
Yeah, let me get the language straight. I will blame myself first of all because there were inadequacies.
You shouldn't blame yourself.
Okay. But let
I'm
me say,
saying, don't tell me to stop blaming the thief.
Okay, I'm not telling you to stop blaming them. I'm not telling you to stop blaming them. But I'm saying I'm going to blame me first for allowing the thief to do what they do.
I ain't arguing with that. That's what I just said to him. I'm not arguing with raising the thing. We need to take greater responsibility as we get our consciousness.
Great.
Okay.
But I find it as very incorrect. I I could be harsher because you're young, and I can be harsh. It's very incorrect.
Hey, man, go ahead, man.
No,
Go ahead.
I ain't gonna hurt you like that. You're a good young brother. But it's very incorrect. It's very incorrect to say that black folks don't take responsibility. We're one of the most responsible people in the world. If we weren't, this country wouldn't even be here. It is our responsibility and our level of responsibleness that has produced what we can even refer to as a democracy. One of the mistakes we make is don't accept our contribution to building America. And I'm tell you where I'm coming to, because it's going to come up in my speech tomorrow, and I'm going to kick anybody in the nuts who's going to try to challenge me, because I'm going to be good at it. I'm an African American. And folks say, well, I'm an African and American. That's bullshit. I'm an African in the United States. America is a geopolitical place. Africa is a race. They're not the same things, first of all. There is no country called Africa. There's never been one. When we left Africa, there was no nation states there. It was just the continent, the culture, and the race. So it is appropriate for us to refer to ourselves in that manner. Somebody coming here, they're from Nigeria, he's not an African American. He's a Nigerian American. That is the appropriate protocol for self-identity today. And so we need to be clear. Not only did we build this for free, and you think I'm going to give that to some sucker? I spent 400 years building this shit for free, and I'm going to say, well, you take it, because I don't want to identify with it. That shit ain't happening. Secondly.
Okay, but wait. Do what? What you going to do then? Are you going to get to that part?
No.
You said,
I'm going to do what we've been doing. We made $1 trillion plus last year, $1 trillion plus the year before, $1 trillion plus the year before, and $1 trillion plus the year before. We're going to find better ways to aggregate and manage that $1 trillion. Okay.
Can I ask you something quick?
Yes, sir.
Do you agree with Dr. Amos Wilson and the blueprint for Black Power?
That was one of my best friends.
Yeah,
some of the stuff in there is very good. All of that shit ain't Amos's stuff. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
The people who put the book together, no. When that book came out, Amos was well dead. The people who wrote that book took some liberties on their own. They were his friends. I understand they're my friends too, but I'm just saying.
Well, nevertheless, but the content of the book was
generally. But if anybody had the perfect damn book solution, we wouldn't be sitting in this room.
Well,
we
I
would
think
not be sitting
if we start administering some of this
stuff. The Bible is one of the best damn documents in the world for man to liberate themselves. The Quran is another one. See, that's because
the Book of the Dead.
The Book of the Dead is so confusing and so unknown to us, we don't even know how to use it.
That's where the Quran and the Bible came from.
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
Fragments of it. Okay. Most of us in the Quran of the Prophet Muhammad, that's just the history of the Prophet Muhammad. The other third, which is the Old Testament, that's basically the history of some people who was in a Civil War conflict in Kemet after we drove the Hyksos out. It was the Negroes who didn't want to go along with the black folks who had come and kicked the white folks in the butt. And so that's the Hebrews. And then you come back to the Christian piece. That's the Roman era. And you said some black folks trying to borrow from those historical things, trying to fight off Roman dominance. All of this stuff got a political theater it's playing out in. And we have to understand that past this thing of this religion and theology and so forth. None of it is totally history, but all of it is playing out in some kind of historical framework, and people trying to get out of some stuff they're in. And they're trying to find what they could use as tools to use to get out. So they borrow from what's available. If there were some other things available, they would borrow from it. The Book of the Dead isn't just a book of instruction of survival. The Book of the Dead is a science book, trying to explain the cosmology and the ecology as perceived by the Africans who were examining it scientifically in that day, and trying to explain how nature works, how cosmology works, how they work in relationship to the human body, etc., etc. We haven't even begun to study the Book of the Dead from the perspective of which the ancestors. But that's part of our task. Oh, I agree. That's a part of our task. That's
we too busy studying Islam, Christianity, and all that.
I used to knock Islam so bad, I would make that brother start pressing spin on that damn top. But I back up off of a little bit. I was an imam for 18 years. I went to Mecca twice. I know Islam. I sat before the rabbi of the Rabbi Alim al-Islamim and challenged the whole friggin' thing they got in Mecca and sat them down. But then I came back home and I found that wasn't totally our aspect of it. Muhammad was a black dude. The white boy played us trying to stay loud with the black dude. all them dudes in the initial movement, Islam started as a liberation movement that became a theological movement. And so they were trying to liberate themselves from Roman and Greek descendants' domination. And the only information they had was to turn to the writings we call the Torah and the writings we call the Injil, okay, or the New Testament. That was only the only documents available. But Muhammad was able to go into Kemet. Remember, he was the head of a caravan. His wife and these were very wealthy. So he was in Kemet all the time, so he got into the craft. So he had some stuff together. But if you study the history, the next generation after, when Muhammad dies, a guy named Abu Bakr take over, an old man. He doesn't live alone. He dies. Then a dude named Omar take over, strong brother, Muhammad's close friend. He's assassinated by making prayer by a dude named Uthman and his people. Because Uthman is the nephew of a cat called Abu Sufyan, who was the dude trying to assassinate the damn prophet. But in the peace gesture, Uthman had married one of the prophet's daughters. Ali, who's the prophet's blood cousin, also married one of the prophet's daughters. So him and his people kills Uthman because he thinks that Abu Sufyan, the next dude who was the head of the Northern Army in Syria.
Who was, bro? Help out, who was it?
I can't remember it. It was anyway, but that dude was Uthman's cousin. But him and Ali grew up like brothers, so Ali thought he would side with him. Muawiyah. So Muawiyah sided with Uthman and killed Ali. Then they went further and said, let's kill all of Ali's children. Let's kill his grandchildren. So he was like, no, these are the Sunnis doing this. They're killing off the bloodline of Prophet Muhammad. This is how the Shia gets formed. The Shia come in, they weren't called Shia. They came in and said, look, we'll help y'all, but y'all gotta make us the priesthood. And that's the ulama that we see in our land today. Let us be the priesthood. And then we give you our protection of our army and our country. And that's the formation of Shia.
But when you said you came back after you beat them up, and you came back, what was your stance then when you came back?
Well, my position was that what is called Islam, that's why when I was at that stand, I was still pretty much opposed to the nation, right? Even though I knew more than most people about the nation, the good side. So I was never really an enemy of the nation, but I was opposed to them because I thought this thing that I'd been taught that Malcolm had brought the Sunni thing back. But then I found out that wasn't really true. Malcolm came back from there and spoke against the shit too, and they tried to shut him down, just like they tried to shut me down. Because I'm the person that took over Malcolm's months after he was assassinated. I was 21 years old at the time. I didn't know shit from Shinobi. I thought, the older people felt they make me the imam because I was a young, stupid dude they could handle. You know what I'm saying? They didn't think I was going to go study. So while I was in Mecca, I realized that I was dealing with white Islam. I was dealing with white Islam. And that's what made me start studying the history in such detail after I got back. And so I closed the mosque. And I walked away. It wasn't that easy, but it's not for the public to know certain things. But I walked away. But what I realized, that Elijah Muhammad, what he had done, was the most appropriate thing black people could have done with Islam for black people. Okay? And so that changed my perspective. Until I got to see them for what they were, I didn't know. I went into the devil's house and I saw the devil straight up in the face. I walk into the Rebecca package treated me like shit. I refuse to leave. I want to see I want to see the rabbit. This old cracker Arab, he told me to give me some books. I said, I don't want to come over here to make some damn book list. And there was one brother, Sudanese brother, sitting up on this thing like a shoe shine thing all day. I sat in the office, I refused to leave the office. I put in my own city. But then I remember, because I was so sick with the fever and I was hungry, I'd been without money for weeks, I had to stay with food to eat, living in a cardboard box out of the mosque, I was going through the thing. So I remember I had a letter from the imam of the mosque in New York on 1 Riverside Drive, and from Malcolm X's sister. So, but it was about 4 o'clock in the evening. I remember I had the letter. I was not there. So I get to do the letter. He said, I don't speak English. The black dude that sat up there all day, he said, oh, I speak English. I said, what the hell did you sit up there and let me suffer all day? It was like he was some spiritual guru or shit. He came down, he took the letter, took about an hour, and he translated it. Gave it to the white boy who went in the back somewhere. Same white boy treated me like trash over, runs out and I fall spraying knees at my feet. I said, oh, you know, they want to know can you come back tomorrow. Now I'm real defiant. I ain't coming nowhere. They're going to see me. Because I know I wouldn't have strength to come back down there. So he runs back in the place, then he comes back out and badly got to think this is a gesture like this. And pulls me in the back. Oh, the black Muslims from America's here. And do this with all the people in there. Before he was spitting in my face all day. Then the sheikhs came out and asked me if I would join them in Salat, the evening prayer by that. And they put me on the front row with the sheikhs and the elders. And after we made prayer, the sheikh took me in the office and tell me the council can't meet with you today because they having some very secret meeting going on. And so, oh, he's on the, I'm rolling. So, I said, well, I'm here for a reason. And the letter said that I was a disciple of Haj Malik al-Shabazz. Then 2 of the elders came in and they asked me, they didn't ask me about Malcolm first. They said, how is Haj Muhammad? Because I thought they got Malcolm's name wrong. So I said, no, you mean Haj Malik. They said, no. You mean Haj Muhammad, Haj Elijah Muhammad. See, people had kept it a secret that Elijah had made Hajj. And he had made Umrah, and Malcolm had gone ahead since 57. Malcolm had gone up there and helped open the doors to that. The message was sent, but that was all kept down low because the message came back and said, I'm not going to move my people from under one mind domination and put them under another mind domination. And so he wouldn't let nobody know he had been the and when I thought of that shit, I was like, you know, they took a big person. Then they came back to me and they said, we will do anything for you because you are a disciple of Holy Malik. And they explained to me the concept of sainthood in Islam Malcolm was made. All this stuff is new to me, and I'm a novice. I'm like 24 or something. I don't know shit from nothing. I just learned a little bit of the Arabic language. I mastered the Quran pretty much. I could do some Sharia. I mean, that was my thing. Haji Sham Jabba and Tupac's grandfather, Imam Shakur, were my teachers. And so I'm sitting in this room, and the first thing they do is start testing me to see if I knew anything but Islam. You know, I busted it down, even my bad with the fever. I busted it down, so he turns to me and he said, you're not a believer, you're not a Muslim. So I'm thinking, we as I was, don't have to fight this old gray here to suck up for here, because they ain't gonna trap me in this room, right? He said, you're a knower. And after it took me a while to work out what he said. You're not a believer, you're a knower. And you don't buy bullshit. So that's what he was saying. So then in the room, it was about as big as this room. And the first thing that struck me, the room was, the floor was red carpet, the walls were black, and the ceilings were green. All the trash cans in Mecca was playing in red, black, and green, and that kind of threw me. I was like, why they got all the trash cans and stuff all around Mecca, playing red, black, and green? But then when I get in the heart of the ruling elite, the room that they meet in is red, black, and green. I still don't know why. But that was enough to strike me that they got something going on. They know about us, but we don't know about ourselves. Right? There was a dude way in the corner. I could see the silhouette because even though I wasn't in the nation, I was trained by brothers who were in the nation. You know what I'm saying? So on my fruit shit is like, I see the dude. I ain't saying nothing. He's standing way over there in the shadow. And then he tells the dude, "Fuck up, come." The dude come out. He's a black-skinned Pakistani. He says, "Do you know this man?" I told him, "No." He said, "This is the American representative of the Rebecca League." Well, how am I going to have a representative then if you don't let me know I got one? And if I did have one, I wouldn't have chosen him. I would have chosen another black American. So we had some talk, conversation, and he sent for somebody. And the dude came in with a suitcase, opened it, $1 million. And I asked, "What is that for?" He said, "This is for you, brother Amin." In those days, my name is Amin Shahid. So I said, "I didn't come here for your money. I don't want your money." "You know what I mean? This is $1 million. You take back to America. This money you use to construct your mosque, and yada, yada, yada." I pushed it away. I said, "I don't want your money." He looked like a Disney, crazy, man. So he had told me I could never see the concert. Now he sent one of the guys out. And in the door in about 10 minutes comes the entire concert for the whole Muslim world. Because they needed to see the Negro who turned down $1 million. But with them came a group of young brothers wearing black shirts, black fatigue pants, black boots, and black berets. And most of them were very dark. They were the Filipino Muslim rebels fighting the guerrilla war at the time against the Marcos regime. They walked in the door, about 20 of them, fell to their knees, threw their black power fists up and said, "The Black Panther." At that moment, I just started bawling. I started crying. Because I mean, like, that shit was too unbelievable for me. It was almost like being in a time warp kind of thing. And they felt, here these brothers fighting a guerrilla war in the jungles of the Philippines, but patterning themselves after us here in America. And we don't even know. We don't even know the world is watching us that way. That these young men will not only pick up guns and go to war, but have brought a whole nation to a peace table secretly in Saudi Arabia. So after I meet with them and talk to them, they tried to give me that money some more. I wouldn't take the money. And so they asked me, what did I come for? I told them I came simply to bring the salams of the brothers and sisters here and to take their peace back home. They were like still kind of baffled, like they were crazy, that kind of thing. But one thing I learned in early in the game, you don't take money when you don't know how money comes.
That might be more accessible.
So then they gave me a number in Chicago, which I will not divulge, to call to show you how close Chicago was to that. Call this number when you get back, and you will always be protected. And then they offered me the imamship, the mosque on 96th Street in New York today, the big Islamic center. That imamship is offered to me. Because I knew in my heart by then, when I walked out of Mecca, I would never be an Islamic alone. I knew I couldn't come to the nation because I was too heavy in Malcolm's family and Malcolm's. That wasn't a working one. But I knew I wasn't going to do that. They didn't stop there. Before all of this happened, the Saudi government had the CIA arrested me in Jeddah. I escaped from the CIA at the Chase Bank in Jeddah. They don't give me up 3 weeks later. 74. Jeddah, that's their capital. So the point I'm making is that we are a war, but it's a spiritual war, a psychological war, an intellectual war, a cultural war, and even a religious war. Because religion is not a negative. It's only negative when you don't attach it to its purpose. A religion is a tool of your spiritual understanding. Your spiritual understanding is the result of your understanding of nature and cosmology and mythology that you all. And you interpret that into what we call spiritual. And then you express and practice that in the rituals we call religion. And then all of that is demonstrated through the tools we call culture, dance, music, theater, drama. But if you don't know how to hook those up, your wagon is all broken, and it ain't working. So that's the struggle we're in, to reconstitute ourselves, to restructure ourselves. You've managed to do a good job. Like you, I was in the American. I went into Paris out to the city construction site, but I chose six days. And I ended up being a
Put a nigga
in the library, right? But if I had, and when I came out of the war, I fought against the draft and picked the draft. But if I had my brothers today, I would bring the draft back, and every black man at 18 was going to the military for 2 years. I don't care about fighting for the white man. You're living here with him, get your ass in the military. Because the discipline that men came out of that military with have not been equal. The only group that was ever equal, and I'm not just praising because you're here, is the nation of Islam. No other group has been able to.
I agree with that one.
Unfortunately, if you go in the military, you got to fight imperialist wars, which is the negative end of it. So then how can we get that same kind of discipline on our...
So let me ask you this question then. So what say you about our young men and bringing back, what did you say, Will, it was bringing back the
rites of passage.
Yeah, the rites of passage.
Every community should have it. Every family should have it. There's a lot of them in the country. We should start looking at some of these programs, borrowing from them, and use them. But I think every household should have a right to pass for their children. Every black community should have a right to pass for their men and their women. Some of the stuff the nation does and the FOI is useful. There's a big movement in New York. It's called the Blue Nile. It's like the Crockett at the band that started Baptist Union Baptist Church. There's a number of others around the country. And I think we need to take, especially in D.C., there's a couple of temples there that have some good rites of passage programs. Automatics and the African movement, they were doing it. They had a good summer program.
I would be very interested in that.
Absolute necessity. Because it gives us an opportunity to help frame our children in a world where they're being framed all day by an enemy institution. Even when it's a private school, it's not me, you know. And all of us can't stay home and homeschool our children. Right. So the way we should equal that is after school programs, weekend study tutoring programs, and rites of passage programs.
But let me interject on that part. Okay, I'm an avid homeschooler. I homeschool my children. And we decided for the community to get involved, we create homeschooling co-ops for those parents that did have to go to work. We'd be working a co-op.
If you can do that, that's workable. That's anything along those lines where we are socializing the minds of our children is a good thing. And but we can't give up on the public schools. We damn public. That's our school. Take that control. I'm with the homeschooling, I'm with the after schooling, I'm with the weekend tutoring, and I'm with the rites of passage. And even if we control the schools, we should still keep those elements. Because it's about getting control of the minds of your children, so you are forming those minds. That's that rewiring.
I got another question. You had said earlier that we don't have the necessary information to take us to that next level. I'm paraphrasing now. But I think that we have enough information with the Bible, the Quran.
The information is here. When I say don't have it, we have not amalgamated, consolidated, because we're fighting each other. The Muslims are fighting the Christians are fighting the Hebrews are fighting the Muslims and Christians, the Canadian is fighting the Christian Muslims, and all of them are dealing with the same body of information from different perspectives. So how do we sit down together and say, listen, that sun shines on China just like it shines on South Carolina. That moon rises in Japan just like it rises in Nairobi, and it's the same damn moon. Okay? Now, everybody is interpreting the meaning of the sun and the moon for themselves based on what they get out of it in their environment. And that's what we need to start doing again. Let's look at these documents differently. Let's study the documents. some people have done some work on it. Let's look at the works that they've done, and let's see what's in there we can take, and the rest of the shit throw in the garbage can way below. That's an approach I think we should have in our study groups. I think every household should set up a study group. I've struggled in mine so that 2 hours a week we either watching a videotape or reading a book for discussion. Or having, like I was supposed to have last night, family discussion with my son-in-law and his children. But one of them was working till midnight, so I put it off until Monday. I see a crisis happening in my family. I'm going to try to address that crisis before it becomes a crisis. That's our job. That's parents. Your children may not even like it. So you're the fan of my life. Your life is my life. Okay. I gave birth to you. You cry, I cry. Somebody hurts you, I got to respond. So if I see something going on that don't look right, I need to call y'all together and ask the fundamental question of what I'm seeing is real.
You always not a question. Could you explain your journey to African spiritualism and what you feel like as far as the coaching in African spiritualism specifically, as far as us moving forward and making changes around us right here in the States?
Let me first say that much of what we call African spiritualism is bullshit. Got it?
Say what?
Bullshit. Bullshit. Trying to make it nice. Then let's come and talk now about those aspects of African sacred spiritual science that we need to grasp in order to change how we fight our enemies and how we develop ourselves. You're going to be doing two things. You're going to be fighting, but you're going to be introspective. And they can't happen one and one. It's happening at the same time. And you got to keep that balance. That's what the Muhammad is. Like, I know you're going over this thing. And I feel for you. If I had my brother, he would. Okay? So that money could be better spent someplace else. But I'm not going to do that. It's going to cost you, but you're going to pay for something you're going to learn. And I'll always be there. My phone is always there. That's positive. You understand what I'm talking about. If you look around the store, he's got beautiful images of African sacred scientific images out of the Yoruba culture, African culture. But I didn't see a single image out of the American culture. I'm not talking about a picture, I'm talking about a symbol of a philosophy, concept, idea. That's our mistake. Because we still see ourselves as a non-person. And that we can only be a person if we copy another ethnic group out of Africa or out of someplace else. We are an ethnic group. We are a tribe. We've been together for 400 years having a common experience on a daily basis all over this country. That history is worth knowing, and it is your history that you should deify. We haven't done it.
Give an example, a couple examples. What are you talking about? Like a picture of Martin Luther King? Or,
not just a picture. Martin comes with a philosophy, an idea, a concept, and it's not nonviolence. That white folk shit.
Thank you.
I saw that whitewashing shit they did on Martin on Wednesday. I almost regurgitated.
Oh, April 4th, 1968.
So, but it's our job to paint the real Martin. That means study his speeches. How many people have read the speech, The Birth of a New Nation? Oh my. That's the speech he writes when he comes back from God and sits prison steps after being there with Nkrumah for the independence of Ghana. It's probably one of the best speeches he ever did. The birth of a new nation. The speech he did the night before he was killed. They always show you the last.
Yeah, the I have a dream.
No, I'm talking about the one that was killed. Mine eyes are seeing, glory to the Lord. I mean, I get the promised land, which yada yada. They don't show you what he said. Boycott Coca-Cola. Boycott Wonder Bread. Take your money out the white banks. Put it in black banks and black credit unions. Build your own business. He says all of that in that same speech. But they don't play that over and over into your brain. But we need to read it over and over and get it into our brain. And put it in our children's brain. Same thing when I have a dream. There's no such thing as an I have a dream speech. That's the crackers thing. That matter of fact, that last thing that he said, "But I have a dream," is not even in his written speech. He ad-libbed that shit to Mahalia Jackson.
Mahalia Jackson.
They said, "Martin, say that thing you did in a sermon a month ago about have a dream." Because that was his girl. She was a famous woman. He ad-libbed that. But that wasn't a part of the original speech. The original speech is calling for reparations. He said, "The crackers, we had worked 400 years in slavery. He talked about how we toiled, coming up with slaves, and then he says, and you're giving us a check that'll come back insufficient funds. Cracker, pay me what you owe me." They don't talk about that. But we got to study that part. We have to. Same thing with Booker T. Washington. I know we down here and we raising Marcus Garvey high. But you can't raise Garvey unless you raise Booker. Garvey said he came here to implement the Tuskegee model. So how you raise Garvey and don't call him Booker? Booker invites Garvey to come here.
I know W.B. Du Bois rejected him.
No, he didn't reject him. They had a conflict because Garvey wanted to meet with the Ku Klux Klan and did have a meeting with the Klan. And Du Bois said that shit was false.
What was wrong with that? What was wrong with meeting with you know?
If I come into your house, whether I'm your cousin, brother, or friend, I do not meet with your enemy without having a discussion with you. That's what was wrong with that.
But no. But what I'm saying is,
you asked me what was wrong with it. I just told you.
You know, I'm saying that the overall meeting, we're having a meeting with a Ku Klux Klan. That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of people think, well, you know, that was kind of wrong to have a.
He's not saying
What I'm saying is Mr. Garvey did not come here and find a blank field or a neutral environment. There were movements going on in this country. There were organizations in this country. There were leaders in this country. And they were fighting against those forces. You don't come and go meet with my enemy and don't clear some kind of discussion with me, then I need to understand what that shit is about. Are you now joining my enemy?
But didn't I thought that Marcus Garvey told that he wanted to meet.
That happened after the fact. That's what the argument was about. And they only had that back and forth going for a while. White folks and Marxist niggers turned that into an argument. It never was.